Hi guys, it's Bill again. Glad you're back. So I made some risotto not too long ago, and I've been trying to think of other kind of classical ways to make it. And this is a real basic mushroom and spinach. And what inspired me to do it was I wanted to grill some steaks. Well, I did a little experimenting, and reheat's great. I mean, you can refrigerate, reheat it. It's not a problem. So I'm like, that's good. So this morning I'm going to get this done. So all I have to do is get it out, heat it up a little bit, and I'm set to go. So kind of the same recipe. I have 3 tablespoons of olive oil, just enough to dance around the bottom of the pan. It's getting pretty hot. I can start to smell it. And what we're going to do is I got a whole yellow onion that I diced up. Love that sound. Get that started a little bit, get it nice and coated. And it's great, we're getting these really sweet onions. I think they're coming out of Georgia right now. That are really great. Don't be scared if you cut into an onion and it looks a little dirty. That outer skin thing. And if you think you're cheating the system by peeling your onions before you buy them so they weigh less, you're wrong. They need that hard skin on the outside to preserve them. If you peel that off, it's like having it's like tearing your skin off. It's gonna turn really quickly. So whoever taught you that, if it's your grandma, she's crazy. Leave the skin on. Of course, the stink is being here in Florida. I don't have a root cellar or a cold place to put them in, so I kind of buy them as I need them and just keep them in the refrigerator. I don't stockpile them, which I kind of miss from living up north. All right, so I turn it down. It'll be right back. Alright, so I got a bunch of garlic here. So I wanted to make this kind of a little pretty bold because of the meal. So I really went a little crazy on the garlic, which I do lots of times anyway, right? It smells pretty good, okay? It smells good. So, like I said, we're just going to let this kind of sweat into the oldies. And if you find that things are sticking and the pan's kind of dry, you can always splash a little more olive oil in here. And we just want them to kind of give up their juice, make everything taste really great. And as you know, this is a process, so once you've done it a bunch of times, though, I find it's pretty easy. Alright, so I got everything nice and soft and good in here. I got my 8 ounces of mushrooms I sliced up that are going to kind of go into oblivion. And so they're sitting on top of the onion right now, right? So they're going to kind of steam a little bit. And hopefully that's going to kind of start the process for me. Get them warm and give up all that liquid, because they're going to start absorbing, they'll absorb the oil otherwise, and then, like I said, the pan can start to stick a little bit. So we're pretty good there. Before I forget, while I'm sitting here, let's do a little pepper. Half a teaspoon. I'm getting some effect from the garlic. I can start to feel it in my eyes. And I want about a half teaspoon of salt. So just use your hand. you know? It's almost impossible to dig out with a spoon, but just get comfortable with what a half teaspoon is. That's a little too much. And you can put a little extra in there when you go too crazy. Alright, so let's see what's happening here. Looking good in the neighborhood. You know, fresh garlic is just so wonderful. So once again, I turned it down just a hair, you know, almost medium. This is a pretty super burner jet engine. Alright, let's get these babies. Everything's nicely covered. So I got some fresh thyme here, and if you compact it down, it's like a tablespoon. That's really all you need. Fresh thyme, man. Came from the produce store I go to. They sell them bulk, you know, whatever you want. How much you want? How much you want? Now we come to that part where we're just kind of let everything dance together. Smell-o-vision or smell-o-video or something, that's what we need, because let me tell you, you would be so happy to know how wonderful this really smells. Burning my eyes though. Alright, so this is a funny thing. I got my cup of arborio rice for my risotto, right? And we want to incorporate it with everything here. Now we don't have any liquid here, so we're kind of almost roasting it a little bit. Get it nice and toasty. And it's funny how that turns into like this massive amount. It like triples in volume. So the rice is stealing liquid from the mushrooms, so it really is drying out the pan right now. It doesn't take very long. Now the next thing I want to do now, I've got a dry pan. And everything got hot. So I need half a cup of white wine. Any kind of wine. Now it's kind of funny, so it's a kind of visual thing, but for something as kind of hearty, is that a good word to put it, as steaks on the grill, you could use red wine. Red wine will definitely impart some great flavor. The problem was I was like, I don't have a bottle of red wine open. I'm not going to open one just to put in here. And I'm going to have leftovers that I'm not going to eat with anything that hearty. Alright, so 1/2 cup. 1, 2, 3. With all liquids that we put in when we make risotto, you want to wait for them to kind of plump. They don't really plump at this point, but they're gonna start absorbing water. And the wine's really going to bring that beautiful fragrance of the thyme. Okay. When you're putting in little volumes like that, 1/2 cup at a time, like I basically do 1/2 cup with my stock. It absorbs into the rice so much faster because you're maintaining that temperature. And you know, unless you want to be like cooking this at like 30,000 BTUs and burning everything up and melting the bottom of your pan. This is kind of like the I call it my risotto for dummies. That's what most of my recipes are, because that's how I learned to cook. Got to keep it simple. It doesn't have to be as complex. We're not trying to impress anyone. If we were at a chef's table where a chef's sitting there cooking in front of you, he's going to make flames. Guess what? Last time I did that with my tequila shrimp, took off my eyebrows, so they're still not grown back right. And that was like 5 years ago, okay? So, I got a bag. It's like 5 ounces of baby spinach. Like, oh my goodness, it's going to take up the whole pan. Yeah, okay. Well, want to see a magic trick? Watch what happens to the spinach. I'm wilting. Or is that melting? I don't remember. I can do this in about 3 bunches or 3 handfuls. And I'm trying to keep an eye on the bottom because the spinach is wilting, but it's not going to give off as much liquid as we want. So plan B is I've got my stock right here. And this is a good recipe, believe it or not, or a good time, because you're using almost a whole box, a quart of broth. You could use vegetable broth. This happens to be chicken because it was BOGO, so I just want to get, like half a cup in there, because I want to get this spinach wilted down. Oh, there it goes. And keep scraping because you want to keep watching the bottom to make sure there's some liquid. Smells pretty good. Okay, so the key is swipe to the bottom with your spoon and just make sure that there's a little liquid in there. And the rice is still very chewy, I guess we could say. It's definitely not cooked yet, so we could, we don't have to worry too much. But as it gets more done, it starts to get really important. So it doesn't stick, make a mess, ruin your meal. That's why I love things I can do ahead of time. Because if you're like a friend's over and you're showing off and you make something and you overcook it, undercook it, whatever, what do? Call Domino's. And let me tell you, we all make mistakes. Alright, so now we start that process. About half a cup at a time. And believe it or not, it goes pretty quick. I know my last video I did overhead shots so you can see this. It's pretty boring. So we just want to keep it at a medium temperature where it's basically boiling, not a hard boil, but it's definitely a good simmer. And that's how we're cooking the rice. That's all there really is to this. It's pretty simple. So I'll keep working. If you want to go get yourself a beer or drink, a glass of wine, and or I'll be cooking this while you grill the steaks. How's that? Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Alright, so like I said, I'm just going to keep an eye on this and stir, and really you can count on the whole process is going to take about 20 minutes once you start adding the broth. We're about 5 minutes into it, not even, and I don't want to bore you. So I'll let you have some fun, and I'll keep stirring. Keep an eye on the game for me. We'll be right back. Okay, so I've got all 3 cups of stock in here. It's been 20 minutes, and I just want to check one of these little guys out. Ooh, they're hot. Ooh, hot. Ooh, hot. There it is. Perfect. All right. Flavor's great. You know, flavor really absorbs into, that's why risotto is so beautiful. And so I was thinking about what I said earlier, and just in case you thought I was crazy, you know, think about things that sound good together and try them, and sometimes you'll really hit. You usually can't miss, but sometimes it's better than expected. And the only time I can remember ever seeing risotto cooked with red wine was actually with rack lamb. And I was actually going to make it one time with a crown roast of lamb, but I did something different. But I would definitely, now that I've actually been making risotto more, getting back in the swing of it, you know, that's the thing with a lot of this stuff. If you make it all the time, it's like, you know, your favorite recipe. You can do it with your eyes closed, and you don't even have to pay attention to it. Once you get to that point, it's really easier to kind of venture out and see. You know, I wasn't sure if the spinach was going to make this wetter than normal, but it really didn't. So I just turned the heat down a little bit because I don't want it so hot. Everything's absorbed, so my concern was if I left the heat up, guess what? It's going to start to stick. So we definitely stirring this around. And I know I mentioned in the last video, and I'm trying to duplicate some of it, is that you really want to use a heavy bottom pan. I used to make it in a skillet. Well, it looks great, and that's why, you know, chefs do it. It's like flip it around and get it all over the stove and everything, because they don't have to clean it up. But it actually cooks better in a heavy bottom pot. So I kind of experimented and learned some of these things. All right, so I want to turn this all the way off. There's no liquid in the bottom, so I'm trying to be really cautious right now and watch it. So now what I do is I've got, and you know, this is an old argument, do you put dairy product in here or not? I always have, everyone I've ever talked to does, but you just want like a 1/4 cup. And this is actually 1/2 and 1/2, good enough. And we just want to stir that in to make that look nice and creamy. It just kind of lightens the color. It makes it really smell good. And I have 1/2 cup of fresh Parmesan Reggiano cheese. Sorry about that. And get that in here. I know this is plenty hot. Man. I'm gonna run to the butcher and get some steaks and cook them right now. I don't know if I can wait. So the cheese is a little bit of a thickener. You know, rice has to have, I call, a little gravy in it. You know, that's why I like putting a little bit of cream or 1/2 and 1/2 in it, and just a little Parmesan cheese. And I just think consistency, kind of that milkiness, it's just so great. So let me show you what it looks like. And believe it or not, it's not going to be exactly the same every time because you change the ingredients every time. Maybe your rice is different by a couple of grains. Maybe you didn't measure something exactly. Maybe, you know, there's so many maybes. But it's really about the taste. And as long as the rice is cooked and it tastes good, who the heck cares, right? So let me just show you what this looks like. Oops. Last time I tried this, I made a complete mess and fool of myself. And that baby spinach just really adds. Doesn't that look beautiful? I mean, honestly, you couldn't ask for more, all right? It's beautiful risotto, the spinach and the mushrooms. You know, I like those kind of rustic things. You know, old school French. You know, I'm not trying to make it some nouveau French thing with throwing in, like, I don't know, peppers or something. Because some of it just needs to stay classic. Now, if there's something you particularly like and you want to go out there and try it, be my guest and let me know how it works for you. Maybe I'll try it. But I always have a hard time talking because I'm drooling so bad. Right? Let me tell you, this is fun. It's not hard to make. Hope you try it and enjoy it. And I appreciate y'all. And please, you know, please keep the comments coming. And I'll see you next time with another great recipe.